so if it just randomly drops quality, just let me know. Okay, let's take a gander here. Yeah, you fucking own. What the hell? All right, so looks like. So I guess the biggest question I have is when you have a tempo lineup, right? You have a Beastmaster. You're like, yeah, we want to like run at objectives, make space for void. What is stopping you from enabling your Beastmaster? What on the enemy team? Well, just not even thinking about. I'm not even talking about what actually happened in the game. How do they stop Beastmaster with heroes around him from taking objectives? Who needs to be there? What needs to happen? Yeah, I'm streaming in Discord for whatever that's worth. If you want to just look at that. The stream of the stream. The classic. Yeah, if there's a tide sitting in front of the tower, what the fuck is he supposed to do, right? So he alone is not enabled to do his job, right? So the reason I focus on Beastmaster is because he is the hero when you pick this hero, you always play with him, right? He has roar, you pressure objectives, you get kills, right? He's kind of like the focal point. Yeah, so that's why we're talking about him. So if he can't solo do his job and to take objectives, what does that mean your team needs to do? Yeah, so there's generally a couple ways, right? We said the biggest thing we're scared of is a Tide Hunter sitting in front of our tower with Ravage. So in order to take objectives that the Tide Hunter's sitting in front of, we need to have more heroes than they have, generally speaking. So that's like something that you should be bearing in mind if you're like, oh, we need to force these objectives. Oh, if there's a Tide in front of them, what the hell are we supposed to do? Well, we either bring more heroes than they're comfortable defending against, or we bring all our heroes with our superior team fight and we kill them. Yeah, exactly. So the idea behind abusing Beastmaster relies on his vision control. And so if you see that they have 4 heroes on an objective and you're like, oh, well, let's just shove in the other lanes if they're just going to do that. So keeping that in mind. Also, it's very, very important in general, just in a general sense of Dota, recognizing who can defend towers on the enemy team. Like who are the heroes that want to defend towers? Who are the heroes that want to farm? Who are the heroes that don't want to show up to fights? So recognizing all of those things, it'll help you gain a better understanding of when you could take objectives. All right, so just running through this draft. Snap Void, nothing wrong with that. Oh, that's yeah. I mean, Snap is a very good hero, so that's a nice hero to have in your repertoire. Hero, they picked Terrorblade. So why? I'm assuming you picked Beastmaster here. Why did you want to pick Beastmaster into Terrorblade? Okay, sure, makes sense. So I will. Oh, okay, that's fine. The reason I asked is just generally speaking, I don't think Beastmaster enjoys laning versus Terrorblade. So when you think about how Beastmaster plays lanes, generally, how does he win them? Right. He thrives on, pushing carries out of lane with boars, with attacks, right? Forcing them out of lane and then taking the tower. Terrorblade, not really a hero that's going to be forced out early. So it's okay to pick Beastmaster knowing that, as long as you have heroes that can pressure Terrorblade out of lane that aren't Beastmaster. So if you go into this draft and be like, okay, well, I know Beast isn't going to pressure Terrorblade out of lane. Is my Snapfire enough to enable that? So whatever you think on that matter, right? That's generally what I would be thinking. Yeah, it's obviously prioritizing comfort heroes is obviously ideal. Uh, I would in any league, I'd probably keep doing that. Like that's the way to win games. Put your heroes on comfort heroes. All right, and then you finish off with the Invoker pick. Love it. Absolutely. So the Invoker, I mean, you've got like this Wombo combo kind of draft here. So they last pick OD. What do you think is the idea behind the last pick OD? Sure. Okay, so beyond yourself getting astraled, what is your team really reliant on? You're very reliant on your Yeah, you're reliant on either a chrono kill, like a chrono catch kill, or a roar catch kill. In other words, you're extremely single target in a way, meaning you're all inning for one kill. And so the idea behind their OD pick is that they're like, oh, we're just gonna astral that one target. So if the OD isn't addressed and you're using your spells on other heroes, it makes sense that you're not going to be able to necessarily get kills, right? So it's a little awkward. Yeah, and that's what makes OD so freaking obnoxious. You're like, man, we have to chrono him. Like, we have to kill him. All right, so into... it's fine. We're all learning here. All right, so looking at lane setup, you start stick. I really like that. Looks like you're running the Jakiro bottom versus the Terrorblade. Maybe it's a hero comfort thing. I'm not sure, but okay. Okay, so let me ask you this. Is your carry scared of cogs? No. So is the cookie super, super impactful in this top lane? Only to save the P5. But if the ogre is the one getting caught, is ogre or not ogre? If Jakiro is getting caught, is he really gonna die? I don't know. So right. So I agree. I like that line of thinking. If you had a carry that just died if they got cogsed, if that makes sense. So you're generally speaking, lane setups should be to do two things: either protect your cores or to counter their cores, right? So by sending the Snapfire top, you're not really protecting your core, right? He's kind of already protected by his own toolkit. But if you were to send Snapfire bottom, maybe you could pressure Terrorblade more. This is all hypothetical. I don't like hate this lane setup. I'm just throwing ideas out there. Yeah. Sure. Generally, if you want to do stuff like this, a play I recommend instead of just running into this area here, if you think you have really strong level 1, you can smoke into this area. So you can like 4 3-man smoke here, sit on like this high ground here, and if they're at mid, it walks up to contest runes, he's dead, right? Like he's just screwed. So that is something to keep in mind. It's more of a cute play, right? It catches teams off guard. You're like, oh shit, they just smoked. One thing to also consider is, does their mid want to contest bounty runes? So OD, probably the best bounty rune contester in the game. So he's almost always going to look to contest runes. So you can almost always look to punish that level 1 if you want to. For sure. Well, that's kind of what you're doing here. Like you're going for first blood, but you're also keeping them from getting this rune, right? You can do the same thing, but if you have like two heroes here, they don't get this rune. If you have like 2 heroes here now, you split it up properly, then they can't contest either. So small things like that. Yeah, absolutely. It's not really one of those things that you generally think about. Yeah, for sure. All right, so they drag this around. Nothing too crazy here. One thing your snap could do is if the creeps get dragged like this, and if they drag them down, he can run over and hit this creep camp. And if the creeps hit him, these creeps will automatically aggro. So now then they're just screwed out of. Now they're contesting into like a neutral camp and a creep camp, which feels really bad for them. Instead, he kind of gets caught here. Oh, he's fine though. But you're happy. You're farming under tower. The reason that I bring up that Snapfire doing that is because by dragging the creeps over here, they've effectively reset the lane. And by reset the lane, I mean if all things were to stay neutral as is, the wave would stay here. As a carry player, where do you generally want your wave? Yeah, you generally want your wave somewhere in, this vicinity, right? It being here means you can't pressure their carry. Their four can contest pulls. So the lane is just naturally going to feel kind of awkward. And this pull contest isn't really something you think about until you kind of get told it. Somebody told me about it. It's really nice, and that goes for any kind of pull, like, or any kind of creep aggro thing. Like if Clockwork was to come up here and drag these over, you could pull these creeps over. You could pull these creeps over. So even if you were to drag this down, you're still able to drag it over, right? If you attack it once, they hit you, then they all of a sudden come hit you again. And it doesn't matter if you don't get all of them. It only matters. It's only good for them if they get all 4 creeps to the reset point. If they lose 1 or 2 creeps on the way, that's really not good for them, because now they're not getting this neutral reset. The lane will naturally push back in towards the carry. And that's like it's kind of a loaded thing to think about, but it happens so much that it's like something you have to keep in mind. Because now there's this double wave. Tide's just going to get complete free farm of this. So, and you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? Contest the Tide Hunter? Like, right. And as a melee hero facing Tide Hunter, do you really want to trade into him in a 1v1 scenario, generally? No, generally, even with Time Walk, it feels kind of bad. Like, you just don't do any damage. So ideal scenario, and this is important to keep in mind in every single lane that you play, safe lane, off lane, mid. What is my ideal lane state? So ideal lane state for us in this lane, as Faceless Void, is under or near my tower. So I'm not forced into these awkward 1v1s, and I can farm in relative safety. Sure, makes sense. Terrorblade, on the other hand, well, he's probably under the same boat, right? His ideal state is going to be near his tier 1. So, yeah, exactly. Most carries, their ideal state is under their tower, for, generally speaking. Anytime you can neutralize the lane equilibrium, like right outside the range of the tower, is really good as a carry. Yeah, right, exactly. So now Tide's gonna be really happy because they dragged the next wave too, right? So now he's just gonna be level like 3.5 off of these waves. And you pull here. This is support pulls, which is fine, but the damage is kind of already done. and he's not getting a pull through off either. So there's going to be another 2 creeps coming in that will push the lane. So it might not feel like a big thing that they get this first creep pull around, but like it all adds up, yeah. Yeah, that's really the only thing you can do. You can push this into him and try to get his creeps under the tower to push back, or you can walk over to their 4 and hit him with your 5. And if both of you are hitting him, that frees up this pull, both of these pull camps, as well as the small camp pull. So there's a lot of things to think about, I'm sure. Things to keep in mind. You don't obviously have to have them all applied in practice, but all of this is going back to how do I obtain my ideal lane state, which is right here. Okay. All right, so playing some lanes. Your Beastmaster seems to be having a pretty good time. I did have this complaint the other day about, I think it may have been Jay Fitz when I wrote it out, but if you're gonna buy mana regen, you need to use your spells. Like even just pressing them on the Terrorblade will make him kind of sad. So if you're gonna buy mana regen like that, let's use your mana. Maybe don't spam your spells, but you can use them to trade. Yes, you have spells for a reason. Same thing, I would say the same thing to this ogre, right? He's got mana regen, so let's not be afraid to cast our spells. He is not afraid here. Exactly. Playing side lane is all about who can maintain the highest HP in a lot of cases. Who can have the most HP during the longest amount of time. Because if you're higher HP, you can naturally pressure. If you're low HP, you're naturally scared. So let's go back a couple seconds here. If we cast our spells on this Terrorblade right now, right? He casts, Dual Breath, we sick a Boar on him. What is Terrorblade going to naturally have to do? He's going to naturally have to back up. So if the Terrorblade is the one getting spells pressed on him, he can't be aggro with his Ogre. So Ogre naturally has to be passive as well. You see where I'm going with this? Okay. So this idea of aggro trading to, especially on a hero like Terrorblade, like these low HP agi heroes who, rely on their armor over their HP. When they're low HP, they feel really bad. Yeah. I mean, level 1 Dual Breath does 120 damage. Liquid Fire does like 60 damage. Like that's 180 magic damage. That's like it's like half his HP pool at this point. So it adds up. And so heroes like Terrorblade, heroes like Phantom Assassin, who don't have natural ways of recovering their HP, they really hate eating magic damage spells early. All right, so keep looking. They get this kill, and a lot of this is just a result of not pressing our spells on the Terrorblade, which happens. We live and you learn. Looks like Terrorblade. No, he's a salve. Sag. Oh! Yeah, but you can see, like, the Jakiro's 1v2ing. Like, imagine it with just a boar. Imagine if the Beastmaster was alive. So, all right, so you come back here. That's fine. Yeah, so this contest is really good. The next step on capitalizing on forcing the clockwork out of here is to pull this large camp, pull it this way, either way. If your supports aren't sure how to properly do that, I'm more than welcome to show them how. It's very, very nice. So yeah, of course. It's not your job necessarily to pull this. It's probably Snapfire's. Yeah. Well, there's trees cut, so right. And if you get this pull off, you're coming back on your tower, so it doesn't feel quite as bad. But creeps do come back eventually because it's Tidehunter. He'll naturally shove the lane in. So, okay, we've rotated on Invoker. Big question as a carry. Do you want this to go under tower in an ideal situation? Yes or no? So what? Yeah, what are the consequences of this wave going under the tower? Right. Those are all good points. Yes. The big thing, harder to last hit, and it's not only hard to keep equilibrium, it's actually impossible if you bring the creeps under tower. So if we are aiming to keep this creep wave here, we most likely need to hold it before reaching the tower. Is my point. Otherwise, it'll naturally, the creeps will naturally die here, and then it'll naturally get shoved over time. All right, nice rotation from Invoker here, easy kill. And it looks like you do this, actually. So this is really nice. Because now Tidehunter is in this weird spot. So with the wave here, what are Tidehunter's choices? Or contest almost under the tower, right? So if your support now contests the hard camp and keeps this pull from going off, Tidehunter is very sad. Right. So this all comes together. It all comes in. we're all coming together. All right. And so playing some laning stage. Jakiro's getting some bounty runes. Nothing too crazy. And the reason I brought up Jakiro casting his spells on the Terrorblade is because what did we talk about Beastmaster's big problem against Terrorblade? Yeah, so he's not the one that's going to shove him out of lane. The Jakiro is the one that's going to shove him out of lane. So it's very important to recognize that. All right, so we're kind of chilling here, chilling. Everybody's farming. Okay, your Invoker's got Earn, so he's going to run around. I really like this. He's perfect. Pretty textbook there. Nice rotation from Sparrow. One thing that can happen, and I'll just throw it out there for things to consider, is are you in like imminent danger in this top lane? Is Snapfire protecting you from dying? No. So, by Invoker being bottom, what naturally will happen? Sure. OD's going to push in, middle will be empty. What happens bottom? Right. TB is going to get the fuck out of there because there's an Invoker here with Jakiro Beastmaster. If he gets caught, he is dead. Right? So this rotation by Invoker is actually so good that I think he should just stay down here, right? You have a Cardi wave with Beastmaster. You get a kill already. You know Terrorblade's alone. Just secure the tower at this point. You said mid will be empty. Because you as the carry are not under threat, Snapfire can now go mid and take that experience. All right, so it's a lot of moving parts here. But thinking like, what? Yeah, but this is there's timing windows in Dota that are really important to hit. Like against Tidehunter, you want to get towers before he is tanky enough to sit in front of them, right? And he's not really at that point yet. So if you get this tower right here, that is so much map for your team. I mean, don't get me wrong, Terrorblade's okay leaving. Like, he's a Terrorblade. He can jungle fine. But it's more the idea of getting this tower before the enemy team is ready to defend it. Because now you've taken this tower, you can defend this tower, and you can defend these towers very naturally. So you're just going to naturally feel better playing the map. All right, so he TP's back on Invoker. It's a hard thing to recognize. I don't really blame him. But you can see that, you know, Beastmaster wants to play aggro with this Cardi wave. But he no longer can. Like, his Jakiro's not close enough. TP pops meta. And now this timing window has come and gone. Well, I say that, but, you know... Yeah, but yeah, he keeps getting walked at. He dies again. So imagine if this was done when Invoker's here. Everybody stays full HP. Everybody's just happy. Tower dies. Yeah, it would have been really fucking sad. Let's just say that. So you use Chrono top. Instead, you guys go for this kill. Nothing wrong with that. Nice rotation, nice use of Chrono. So this is really nice from Sparrow, right? They have an OD mid. OD doesn't want to rotate. He wants to hit creeps because he's an OD. So you can naturally abuse side lanes by making OD feel bad for just sitting mid and farming. You want to make him feel sad for being a creep hitter. All right, so it looks like we missed our window here. So in the long run, yeah, we got a bunch of kills on the map, but did we get any objective progress? No. Which means that the game state hasn't really shifted. Yes, we have a gold lead. Yes, we've gotten some kills. We've made them feel kind of bad. That's literally about it. Yes. All right, so I think the putting an emphasis on getting if you're gonna pick a hero like Beastmaster and they're gonna pick a weak laner like Terrorblade, putting an emphasis on pressuring, knowing who you can pressure and why you can do it. All right, so we've kind of missed our windows here. That's unfortunate. Luckily, you're playing Void, right? You feel pretty okay sitting top. They don't really have heroes that can kill you. Terrorblade dies again. Cool. So this essentially could all I'm saying is this could have essentially happened 2 minutes earlier. So. Oh my god, he TP'd. All right, well, he's a psycho. He TP'd right back. So if I'm Jakiro, if I am, this is something that happens in like 7K games too. So like it boggles my mind sometimes. If you're stomping a lane, Why in God's name would you leave before the tower's dead? What happens by Jakiro not being bottom anymore? They can lane for free essentially, right? What did we say? What we talked about Beastmaster, right? He can't solo push Terrorblade out of here. So if the Jakiro's not here, Terrorblade's more than happy being bottom. Okay. And you could say the same thing. You could say the same thing. If Invoker is bottom and Jakiro is sitting mid or something, the same thing applies. Right? It just needs to be heroes, any heroes that can pressure the Terrorblade that will push him out of lane naturally. All right. Because now we're this Beastmaster and we have level 7 and we're really powerful, but instead we died mid. Our support died mid, so we can no longer pressure this Terrorblade. Okay, we roar. Keeping this going, what happens if Jakiro's here for the roar? He's dead! He's dead! And then he's 0-4! And he's really sad! Exactly! And you, as the other carry, you're seeing Terrorblade get trounced. You're like, guys, this is an easy game. All right, so there's so much early stuff that could happen in this bottom lane. And, yeah, you have the ideas, right? You want to pressure the Terrorblade. However, you need to know who those heroes that pressure Terrorblade are. So in this game, it's Invoker or Jakiro right now. All right, keeping it rolling. Bounty runes. This guy's dead as shit. Hopefully, we have 10-minute cardio wave coming in. Hopefully, this tower dies. Hopefully, the tower dies this time. Looks like it. We've chronoed top. Yeah. Does it ever feel good chasing an offlaner from here to here? No. It feels really bad. So at a certain point, you got to cut your losses. Be like, all right, we fucked up. He's going to live. Whatever. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if you're even yeah, I mean, yeah, in my pubs, this is probably getting TP'd too, but like even like any comp game, right? They're gonna be like, oh, I'm getting dove. The team's immediately gonna come. Yeah, and I mean, the second he gets Ravage off, I'd probably just be like, okay, we traded Ravage for Chrono, not the worst. We're still getting a tower bottom. So at the very worst, we broke even top. We're ahead bottom. So, all right. So we got this tower. We're a little sad that this is happening. Spyro's out. So yeah, I mean, you make the right call. I think you go to the ancients, you go farm them. That's your job, right? You need to get farmed. It's this point of the game where it's the difference between playing reactionary or reactionary. As the team with the Beastmaster, what do you want to be doing? Even if Roar's up, even if Roar's not up, though, like you naturally just want to pressure. You want to pressure objectives, right? That's the name of the game. So does it feel really bad that Beastmaster is just sitting in this top lane? Yeah. So that's one of those things that, like, yes, you see your heroes getting dove top. Maybe Jakiro can come help. He's got a lot of levels, right? He's got a lot of disengage. But your Beastmaster does not want to be top. And it's very obvious when he's here, right? He's like, oh, I really don't want to be here. He would much rather be mid taking this tower. So there's a lot of time wasted where he TP's top. Now you have 2 cores top doing essentially nothing. You're not pressuring anything. You're not gaining any advantage. When instead you could have, even if those heroes die top, you don't TP. And that's a really hard thing to recognize. Like your team needs to recognize, like, okay, if they dive here, we're not going to TP. We're going to play for this mid tower instead. Because what happens here when they dive? They get maybe 1 kill on a Snapfire. Like, who gives a shit? It's your 5, right? Like, who the fuck cares? So, recognizing the macro objective of what your lineup wants to do. On top of that, what did we say was the big detriment to Beastmaster pushing towers this game? With Ravage, is what you said. You said tied in front of a tower with Ravage is generally no go. He's got no Ravage. Let's go fucking mid. They used all their ultis, right? They use Sanities. They used Ravage. Let's just walk it down mid here. It's a free tower. That's what I would be telling my team. All right. So it's very hard to get out of the habit of just TP responding to things, right? Because your natural instinct, right, is to be like, oh, we can fight here, we can fight here, we can fight here. But in the end, maybe you can fight there, but it feels really bad. And yeah, that's another fair point, right? So, you do the same thing. Imagine if this was happening mid, right? Like, this is just a free tower. Like, Tide can't do anything. And the reason I bring that up is because this top tier 1, both of the, for you, this, or for either team, the safe lane or the off lane tier 1, the opposing off lane tier 1. I think I'm saying that right. This tower and this tower. These are the least valuable towers in Dota. Just straight up. They actually just don't impact the game. So these towers matter because they open up these jungles, right? Mid tower matters for Roche and similar things. These towers don't protect anything. They don't do anything. They're just here. They're free. They're just free gold for you to take eventually. By no means should you ever prioritize them. I mean, there's like weird cases like where they have like a Sven and you want to contest Ancients early, but it's generally almost always better to take these 2 towers. It's just safer, right? Okay. So we've established that we should have gone mid here. That's life. We killed the Tidehunter. And do we get this tower? Oh. Yeah, this is really sad. So we feel really bad because we've just been battling up here forever. And you said you felt like the game should have ended a lot sooner. This is probably a large amount as to why. This whole dicking around in the top lane. Yeah. That's, if you're saying that, it's really just on your team to kind of listen. It's one of those things that maybe I need to be yelling at them to be like, stop sitting in this lane. Like, go fucking mid. You fucking idiots. This is the easiest tower for you to take right now. If you were here, they can't contest it. If they contest it, the same thing happens where you kill Tide, but you get the tower. So moving forward, I would like to note if your team watches this and they're wondering why this tower matters more. Well, if you're here, if your team is here, and you're farming down here as a void, right? Can Terrorblade be down here? No, absolutely not. Where is Terrorblade limited to if your team is mid and there's a void bottom? Yeah, he's stuck here. There's a little itty bitty 3 camps that he can farm. While you get everything. Yeah, he is so sad because he has nowhere to play except for one area. All right, so we keep battling top. All right. Okay. Yeah, this is all just a result of being not in the right spot. You had a really good timing, right, where they didn't have Ravage, and then you jacked off top, and then they got Ravage and their ultis again, and then you died. Yep. Okay. You got the tower. You did defend. You defended this tower, though. God fucking you did it. Let's go. Yeah. Honestly, just tell your Beastmaster to stop fucking around top, man. That's what I'd do. I would actually be like, I don't know, Runny Anus, what the fuck are you doing top? And it's one of those things that it just needs to be drilled into you to as a team in a team environment, right? You have to prioritize certain objectives. And maybe it'll help. It helps me a lot of times when I'm playing, like when we're playing officials with my Heimamar team. We're like, we lay out before the draft. What do we think we want to prioritize? What towers, what objectives, what do we want to defend? What do we want to trade? So laying it out beforehand and having everybody agree to it could help. Be like, yeah, we said we're going to take this mid tower, take the bottom tier one. We're not defending top. If everybody agrees to it and you call them out in game for it, that's not toxic. That's like you just as a captain being like, okay, this is what we decided on, guys. Exactly. If everybody's on the same page beforehand, and then they start getting distracted in the game, and you recognize that they're getting off task or whatever, be like, yo, reel them in, be like, yo, we agreed on doing this. Let's do that. At this point, though, it's a little late. We're kind of already a little sad. But abusing opponent CDs, Ravage on CD, Sanities on CD. What should we be doing when the opponent is weaker than us and we want to kill them? I was going to say smoke, but forcing an objective works too. You could smoke with Roar. I think right now, I see them all top. If I was the snap, I'd be like, shove mid in, We're gonna smoke around here, get a ward down back here with Hawk. We take this tower. They can't fight us. They have no ravage. They have no sanities. Our void's bottom. This is easy mode. Something along those lines. So it looks like Beast is on the page. He's like, yeah, let's pressure this objective. Yep. Better late than never. He's got a passive Decro book. He's just sitting in his inventory. All right. But we got the tower. We traded this top tower. Nobody cares, right? That's a good trade for us. We're happy. You're happy that you've been farming this whole time. Nobody's touched you. It's at this point where we have Chrono. They have their ultis up again. So as a Void, you're looking for Chrono opportunities without forcing it. So if I'm you, I'm probably farming somewhat near them. Instead of going Ancients, like farming near them, seeing if you find a Chrono target, telling your team, like, yeah, we can fight mid. These are all really good things. Yeah, that's fair. So you know their ultimates are coming up. Generally speaking, you have a general idea, like, oh, they probably have Ravage. Oh, they probably have Sanities. So they're the ones that want to force things. So as you as a Void, if they want to force it, it makes sense for you to naturally be near them and then Chrono after they start an engagement. Because you're not strong enough to Chrono just win fights, right? Like I'm sure you do. You agree with that? Like you feel pretty. But if you find a good, but if they're going on your team and you find a sick Chrono, you lay down macro, you lay down snap ulti, they're just all dead. So if you make them overcommit and you're in the proper position to punish them for this, they will just immediately die. So point being, like, if you're farming in this area, right, you're down here, even if you're on this ward, like you're probably say like you're here now, right? Like somewhere in this area. The enemy team sees you, they're dropping all their spells, they're like, oh shit, there's a void coming. They have to immediately run. And that's already good for your team. So that makes sense. It's not always about using Chrono. It's the threat of the Chrono. I'm sure you've heard that before. The threat of X spell. Yeah, so it that's a good feeling. That's this first step, right? You're like, oh, this feels really bad. Second step is, where else could I be? Right? So that first step is really good that you're recognizing that. All right, so we all die here. And we showed up. All right. I mean, even this is, it's not bad. It obviously could have been better, probably. Yeah, this happens. You get them. You were there for 3 kills on carry. You kept your tier 1 alive. Like, even after all of that, I'm not even too upset. Like, you recognize that you needed to come, even if it was late. You recognizing better late than never gets you 3 kills. Yeah, and Void's definitely one of those heroes that if you can very easily just mop up a couple kills. But unfortunately, tier 1 dies. I wasn't really watching, but okay, that's fine. So now both teams have taken each other's respective big objectives, right? So now this is where the game mostly becomes a vision game, a pressuring off of objectives kind of game. So you still have Chrono. So I would be telling team like, oh, I still have Chrono. Let's see if we can find a fight. Your Beastman. Okay, well that feels awkward. That's generally a communication thing, being like, hey, I'm taking bottom. Nobody take that. Generally speaking, I think it makes a lot of sense for this lane. Naturally speaking, it makes sense for you to shove bottom, your team to be near mid, and then you naturally run up towards here, similar to what we said earlier, right? I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, you've already got your Beastmaster in this area, but I think it's very important as you communicate as the Void. You're like, guys, don't take a fight yet. I'm going to shove bottom in and then connect. So your team knows, hey, we're just going to poke at them for now. When our Void gets in the area, we can then commit. Okay? Because you TP'd here. This feels really awkward, obviously, but you know, he's still good. Like you guys have very clearly recognized that you have very powerful team fight with the Chrono, which is really good. The next step is just properly using it. Exactly. All right, so we took a decent team fight. Feels okay, man. We get some more kills. Cool. So the big issue, obviously, through all of this is, are we getting any objective pressure off of these fights? So these fights aren't leading us to anything, really, except for Faceless Void being a fucking monster. So unfortunately, yeah, I see they have no mana. It's very sad. But so looking back, does it make sense to take this fight mid? Even if we won the fight and we're not getting any objective pressure, does it make sense to take this fight? No. So a really big thing about improving as a team in general is prioritizing fighting on objectives. Or fighting near enemy objectives, right? So if we fight near this tower naturally, right, you shove this in, your team then connects down this way. Now you hawk this, right? You hit this tower, you make them play reactive Dota. You're naturally forcing an objective that will benefit you. You're forcing them to play less than ideal than the way that they want, and you're also setting up an ideal team fight if they do come. So a lot of positives. Yeah. Yeah, you tell your team, hey, I'm gonna push through bottom. Can we set up vision down here? Your team then naturally comes in through here, down here. and everything kind of just feels natural because you have a hawk you can put down here, you have better team fight, everything just kind of fits into place, right? Yeah, and it's it's really hard in the middle of a game to be like to explain why doing something is good. It's something that the team generally just needs to. I don't want to say they need to understand it, but they either need to listen or they need to come up with something else to do. But generally, if you say like as the captain, "Hey, let's push through bottom and pressure this tower, fight them if they come," that's enough to get your team in the general same area as you. All right, so looks like we die here. Unfortunate, we got with no mana. That's life. All right. Good. Okay, perfect. Yeah, it's a good punish. Everybody hits their spells. Bum, bum. All right, so he pushes in top. So the $1 billion question is, are we still strong enough to force objectives without Chrono? Right? $1 million question. If we get a good fight with a roar, with Snapfire ulti, do we think we could fight without Chrono? Okay. So generally, that's the question you need to ask yourself. And maybe I phrased it like it was going to be yes, but I don't think the answer is yes. I think right now you don't have Chrono. You're like, as a void, you're like, okay, I'm going to go back and I'm going to farm. I'm going to hit some ancients. Let's just at this point, if you don't have Chrono, should your team be fighting in the mid game if you don't have Chrono? You don't want to be taking team fights, right? You're essentially fighting 4v5 if you don't have Chrono, right? Because you're not going to show up. So once we have recognized we cannot fight, or we do not want to fight, we then tell our team, hey, I don't want to fight till Chrono. Let's just shove lanes. And your team is already doing a fantastic job of this, right? You've got fantastic spread. Your Beastmaster shove top, your Snap shoving mid, Invoker shoving bottom. You can be like, hey, just keep doing what we're doing. Just keep shoving lanes. When we have Chrono, we can then smoke. Right? Nothing too, like, I'm not saying anything crazy, just mapping out what we're going to do. And just saying, like, just mapping it out for your team, like what you generally want to do, it puts less pressure on your team to be like, hey, let's go make plays. Hey, when nobody's doing anything. Hey, why aren't we doing anything? Let's go. We have roar. Go. It takes away from that. And it's hard in Dota games to recognize we need to chill. But when you have, well, that is just unfortunate. When you have a hero like Spectre, when you have a hero like Void, those are the timings that you're fighting around. There's no reason to fight when you don't have them. So now that you have Chrono, you can be like, hey, let's look for a fight. And I'm assuming that's what you said because you're with your team. But the big difference here Oh, this is it. I mean, it's perfect. You get okay. Well, you die, but so this kind of goes back to your team using two ultimates on an illusion, unfortunately. But that could very easily be remedied by you just saying, hey, we're just going to chill. Don't look for fights. There's no reason to smoke. Just farm. We can smoke when. Exactly. We can both smoke. We can smoke when we have chrono. That's what I'm saying. So your Odie didn't die. Oh, okay. Interesting. I see. All right. Well, we're defending this tower. That's fine. Nothing too crazy. Do we need 4 heroes here? Probably not. So, if I'm playing like a support or a core, I'm probably looking to like run to another lane and shove them out because it feels really bad. Yeah, so you'll see this saying a lot when you watch like BSJ replay, when you watch like BSJ coaching and stuff. He's always like, the team that is stronger will have the mid lane shoved into the enemy. And so much of what your map movements are dictated by is by this mid wave. There's so much priority that needs to be placed as a team on making sure that this wave gets consistently shoved. Because if it's not shoved, it's pretty obvious when you're not there, right? Like, this is like the lane to prioritize lane shoving. So anytime as a team you're able, or as anybody on your team is able to step away, be like, I'm going to go shove this lane real fast and then come back, that's perfect. That's all good things. And it looks like Joe does just that. I like this a lot. Your Beastmaster's back top. No chrono again, right? So what are we telling our team? We're telling our team, no fight, no fight. No fight, bad fight, no. Somebody gets caught, we're not fighting. We're not fighting, no. Who cares? It's our +5. Keeping our lane shoved. They're going to have to deal with top eventually. You're going to naturally deal with bottom. You're going to shove in mid. So when you don't want to fight, putting priority on lane positioning is really important. I feel like I've said that a lot, but just putting it out there. Like just sitting in lanes even and just like shucking nukes from the trees, like just naturally shoving lanes into the enemy. It's so annoying to play against because you're like, oh, we have 2 lanes shoving into our towers. We can't play aggro because we need to fix them. So yeah, exactly. And it's so by shoving lanes, you naturally get a vision advantage because if somebody TPs, you can be like, oh, he TP'd, go fight. It's. All right, so they're looking to be aggro because there's no chrono. You as a team should be recognizing that you don't have chrono, you don't want to fight. So we're chilling. I would. This is probably a good time to shove out bottom. You still don't really die unless they bring like 3 or 4 heroes, right? So if they're showing 3 or 4 heroes, you can feel free to shove the opposite lane as hard as you want. Sure. It's just recognizing who can kill you and pushing appropriately is kind of the blanket statement for that. All right, we've got chrono up though. We look to smoke. I like this. All right, we have a ward on our Jakiro as well. Very important to note that if we don't have wards when we smoke, we don't necessarily want to take a fight. We're going to ward this high ground, hopefully. Okay, you didn't ward the high ground, but All right. I want to go back and look at this real fast. All right, so sure. So you absolutely can fight. You can absolutely fight. If you hit a good chrono at any point in this game, the heroes will die. That's the glory of the draft, right? That's just how it's gonna work. The biggest problem I see with this, and that comes down more to your supports, and more than anything, is if you see a fight about to break out in an area, you place a ward instantly. Every single time. Just place the ward. Because otherwise you're working at a debatable vision disadvantage. They might have vision where they're playing. Like, it's just easier, right? So unfortunately, you guys get caught a little bit, but you still manage to take down the Terrorblade. You're still fighting, but you die. And maybe not ideal. And I think maybe goes back to... I think it really just comes down to not having vision here. Because you start the fight, your Beastmaster gets stunned, right? But if your team is in position to follow up on these heroes in the backlines, you have vision of them, they just die. Sure. Yeah, and if you... Recognizing that is really good. But you guys smoked for a reason, right? So have some confidence. Be like, yeah, we feel strong. Let's find a fight. The most obvious place they would be is their triangle. So don't feel like, oh, surprised that they went back to their triangle. That's where Terrorblade's naturally going to play. So just because a smoke takes long doesn't necessarily mean that they know. It just means you're maybe checking the wrong areas, or they're playing where you expect them to, and you're just clearing the other areas. All right, so this fight hurts a lot. You used all your ultis. Didn't really get anything. You lost 4. This is one of those fights that makes you go, oh, maybe we're not as strong as I thought we were. Which sucks, but it's probably more of a, oh, I need BKB in order to kill heroes on Faceless Void. But we used all our ultis, so it makes sense that they would walk into Roche. Nice Sunstrike. You have Hawk as well. This is good. As a Faceless Void, do you want to be with your team when you don't have Chrono like this? Nope. Not answer is no. No. Your team is more than capable of fucking with this Roshan without you. You've got 4 chip heroes. Your job is to get this fucking BKB so you can kill them all. So I think the ideal play here right now is to have 4 players sit here. You run bottom probably. You run bottom, you shove this in, and you pressure this tower. Because nobody's down here. They have 5 heroes in here. So if you're down here farming, they either have to commit to the Roche or TP a hero back. Both of which feel really bad for them, right? Yeah, exactly. So they don't feel good about committing for this Roche, that's for sure. So as a Void, you need to recognize, I do not want to be here right now. You probably felt that way, but you didn't know where to go. So recognizing that, oh, you know they're all in Roche. The natural place to be is the opposite side of the map from them because that's the safest place. You shove this in, you start pressuring this tower. That's about 50 seconds ish. Then all of a sudden, 10 seconds on Chrono. Then you can look to fight with Chrono BKB or something like that. So, yep, exactly. So instead, you're kind of stuck here in this awkward. And you're going to just force the Roshan instead, which I guess works out. Somehow works out. Definitely not the ideal play, but hey, if it works, it works, I guess. Welcome to LE2L, exactly. All right, so we didn't put pressure on bottom, and bottom's going to naturally be pressured, so we're going to shove out top. This is really nice recognition, right? We know they're all mid. We can shove top for free. It's just easy Dota. All right, well then everybody dies, but this isn't on you, so don't be like, hey, don't be like this is on me for not being there with Chrono. If I'm you, I'm communicating. I am not showing up for a fight until I have BKB, and your team needs to react accordingly. Generally speaking, that means they're going to play really passive because you're not joining them, so they're going to just chill, which is good because that means they're not feeding. So instead, you give them a fight here. Unfortunate. And it's at this point that the game feels kind of awkward because they're going to be marching up high ground here with meta. He's already popped it. But yeah, a lot of this seems just like communicating when you want to fight as a carry. Because we're no longer... So in the early game, right, we talked about Beastmaster was the focal point, right? Beastmaster is no longer the focal point, right, that we fight around. It is now Chrono. So you are the one that dictates when and where you fight. So if your team wants to fight somewhere and you disagree, you say, no, I'm not coming because I have Chrono and we can't fight without Chrono. You put your foot down and you lay down the law. And sometimes that's just what you have to do. And so the meta feels bad. You've got BKB now, though, so you're feeling good. So once you have this BKB, this is probably when I'd be like, hey, let's go smoke. More than likely. Instead, we go towards bottom. And, this is fine, too. You feel really strong, right? You have Aegis BKB, so you're just going to naturally go to an objective. I have no problems with this play. You guys run up here. You TP top. Hopefully you tell your team, I'm TPing top. Because now hopefully they will follow you. Hopefully they will follow you. Hopefully they follow you. Okay, well, they're not following you, which means that you probably need to say something like, hey guys, play with me. I am strong. I am big boy. Me have Chrono. Me have BKB. Me kill them. Me kill them if we all here together. Me no fight bottom. Me no have TP. Me stuck top. Yes, there is no reason to be bottom. So looks like your team's getting the page. They walked into here, which is really scary, but look, if you have Hawk and whatnot, it's not the end of the world if you got it before. They start running in here. And if I'm you, I'm like, you get Astro, I'm like, guys, I have BKB. I am so strong. I'm assuming that's what happens. This is generally along the lines of what happens. Because your team all runs away, you get Astro. But you shouldn't give a shit. Exactly. Yes, 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 yes. Wow. 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 It's crazy. Man, how easy was that? Oh, look at how easy it was. Man, I mean, look at that. You guys are so good. Yeah. Look at that, man. It's so easy. And now you still have Aegis. It felt real good. In this moment, you're probably like, yeah, I feel really strong. I'm just gonna go in. That's the good feeling. That's good. Those are good feelings. When you feel powerful like that, you're like, oh, I feel like I'm going to be really strong. I have BKB. Like those are feelings that like maybe you can't fully convey why, but you like tell your team like I'm strong. Let's fight. All right, so now we're gonna hit this high ground here. Buy back on OD, so we back out. All good things. All good things. So, pivotal moment here. Sorry, on. Pivotal moment. What is the big objective we want to play for at this point in the game? Perfect. Money. No other big objective, right? We've taken, I guess, like there's a 2-2 mid, but it doesn't mean much. So, we are mode play for Roach. Which means, which side of the map do we need to play? We need to play top. We have vision top. Should we be leaving our vision? If we want to play top in the foreseeable future, we have control of it right now. So why would we leave it? Sure, that's fair. No, I can see this happening. That's why I'm paused right here. I know this is gonna happen. I know something's gonna TP bottom. My point is, who the fuck cares about bottom? Just pop a glyph if you need to. You have glyph. You could send your Jakiro, walk him over there, shove one lane, and then TP him back. But by no means should your cores be leaving top at this point, because Roche is just that important. Because if they walk into this high ground, you have Roar, Cataclysm. I don't know if Cataclysm's up anymore, but you have Roar. They should be able to walk up this high ground. Right. You're at the point in the game where you don't need Chrono to kill a hero. You will just pop your BKB and beat the shit out of them. So you or somebody on your team needs to be screaming that you should not be defending bottom, because you want to play for Roche. So you TPing bottom, you as the strongest hero on your team, your team can only play as aggressive as the strongest hero on your team is playing, which means that the rest of your team has to come sit behind you or in some defensive line. Make sense? You TP bottom, that's like giving the enemy team an invitation to run into your triangle. They know you're going to be there. They know you don't have Chrono. They know that your team's not going to be set up probably. There is a lot of big no-nos here. Which I'm sure we realize now after everybody died. I guess only one of you died, but now they're outside your high ground again. Imagine if we hadn't left here. The easiest way to control Roche, right? You ward this high ground. You have one hero cut this wave. You have another hero cut this wave. You can do it. You can just pull it to the high ground even. But just keeping these two lanes cut perpetually makes it impossible for them to do anything. But by leaving, we open up this window of opportunity for them. Now they can hit our racks. Oh, what a save. Wow, what a play. But we have Chrono up again. It worked out, but we lost a Rax. Did we need to lose a Rax? No. So that's just one of those things. Like just losing a Rax here is completely not. You don't need to lose Rax at this point. If you just play the enemy high ground, if you see them missing, you back up for a second, like back up to this high ground ward even. Just not leaving the Roche area. But now they're all dead. Okay. We got Alacrity. We're feeling powerful. We're level 25 Void. We want the backtrack talent, and that's what I like to see. Our Jakiro is in. I don't know what he's doing there. Nice BKB. Yeah, and you're at the point now, right, where you're like, yeah, just fucking kill them. You were at this point 6 minutes ago when you left. Right? So nothing's changed. It's just now you feel a little better because you maybe want to fight. Right, and you got the terribly kill without Chrono. Like that's just like ideal. So, all right. So now the issue is obviously we forced an objective without Chrono. We died. Now we're dead, and Roche is up. We didn't play for Roche, which means now we have to try and defend Roche without heroes. Like bunch of weird stuff. If I win this fight here, I'm probably just saying go straight Roche. Because yeah, that's fair. Yeah, but just knowing like we've wanted to play Roche for this entire time. And now all of a sudden we took a fight on their high ground, they kill us, now they get Roche if they were to go for it. And now we're sad because they get Roche. And we're the ones that are ahead, so we're the ones that should get Roche. But they don't go Roche. I guess Terrablade's dead, so it's not. I mean, I guess it's really hard for them to force Roche into Chrono. Terrablade's dead. Alright, get Satanic. You scan Roche. This boy TP's top. He's getting hunted a little bit. Okay. He's a psycho. What the fuck is Jeebus doing? I don't know. Alright, you get one kill. Walk Roche. Perfect. So it looks like you knew you wanted to play Roche. Right? Yeah, you're like, yeah, we want to play Roche, but there's generally a way to go about it that just makes it impossible for the enemy to contest it. That's all. So we get Roche. Yep. Yeah, and you just win, right? The enemy has no window of opportunity. If you are stronger, you sit on this high ground, you cut 2 waves. They have to smoke into you. If they smoke into you, you generally see it coming. And if they don't, you just get free Aegis because you're stronger than them. So it's like running through the steps, right? It's just easy. All right, so Shakiro gets caught here. We TP'd bottom again. When we are stronger than the enemy at this point in the game, we should always be in their triangle because that is the safest place for them to be, but it's also the most crippling for them to not be in. Because if they're not in their triangle, where are they farming? Yeah, nowhere. They're not farming anywhere. Right? So if we can, we should be taking over the triangle when possible. And that's why, you know, we probably feels bad because we kind of miss a little bit of our timing window here because Jack's dead for 2 minutes. So we missed 2 minutes of our Aegis window. And again, just this bottom lane is so not important. Even if you lose this tower to creeps, who cares? It doesn't matter. Like the only time it matters is if they're actually actively threatening your tier 3s. That's when it matters. Before that point, who gives a fuck? But now you're here, you're going to hunt them because you know you're stronger. I tried to. Hey, what are you exposed by? You've got Aegis, BKB, Chrono. What the fuck? Just go fucking slaughter them. Oh. Luckily, it doesn't matter because we have hopefully established at this point that we are the strongest hero in the game by so much. Yeah, and we kill them all because they can't fight us. Perfect. Nicely done. I'm assuming the game ends from here. Pretty much cakewalk at this point. Okay, well, yeah, okay. You just saw it, or you just chronoed a Phosphor and an illusion of their mid, and you still just dumpstered the fight. That should show you how strong you are, right? Like that alone. That, like, even if we don't have Aegis, like, I don't even care that you don't have Aegis. Like, just go fight them. Like, you're at this point in the game as Void where if you get your BKB off, you will kill them all. Yeah, no, I would agree. It feels like this. I feel like this game could have been over like 30 minutes, but if done properly. So yeah, I mean, just what is he supposed to do? Yeah, I think the early game you missed some pretty big windows in terms of your team like taking this bottom tower. And then I think on the Void, I think you just need to you need to farm near where where fights will happen, and then come if you get a good chrono opportunity. And it's really easy, like when you're playing Spectre, right? Because you just farm the opposite side of the map, because you can join at any point with Haunt, right? But with a hero like Void, you need to be sort of near the fight. It's like a fine line, right? You don't want to commit for the engagement too soon. You want to be near it, see how it goes, and then commit after. So right. Yeah, that same thinking applies to every single carry in Dota. Jug, you have Omni Slash, you farm towards your team. If you think a fight's gonna happen, you think you can contribute, right? It's recognizing that you think that you can do these things. Okay. Whew. I need another drink.